67 testing laps at the Mexican Grand Prix. It's a tale of redemption for Streamline Engineering, who have had back-to-back retirements in the second and third races of the season. Let's see if they bring their A-game here today. Streamline, a custom F1 challenge universe. The Mexican Grand Prix is next. Hey guys, and welcome back to Streamline, episode 4 today, and we do have the Mexican Grand Prix at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, I think is the name of the circuit. 67 laps ahead of us today. The weather report, it's sunny in pre-qualifying, but there is a bit of cloud in the air for qualifying in the race. Still no rain seen this year as of yet. Martin Brundle, our one and only driver, still putting in the performances as best he can considering the quality of the car. The Constructors' Championship on the right hand side going into this one. Lotus do have the lead by 3 points ahead of McLaren, and Ferrari just behind there in third place. 57 race starts for Martin Brundle in his career so far, only 8 points, none of them coming at his new team Streamline. He did want to leave the sport and go to sports cars and compete at the highest level, but we did kind of reel him back into the lure of Formula 1. He couldn't get away with it. His motivation is still high, morale not so good at the moment, but he does have the motivation to carry out his contract at least. So here's the car screen. The car upgrades, which you will actually hear about in the news, has changed the list on the right hand side a little bit. You'll notice a few changes. March are now 80 rated. McLaren have extended their lead at the top there. They're 93 rated as well by bringing an upgrade. Actually, let's hear about the upgrades in the news. Gerhard Berger is reportedly frustrated and angry over the incident involving him and Nelson Piquet during the Monaco Grand Prix. Nelson Piquet, however, is full of praise for his team, commending them for their excellent strategic decision during the most recent race. McLaren is placing significant emphasis on Alain Prost's performances this season as a crucial factor in their pursuit of championship glory. Johnny Herbert and Roberto Moreno have been catching the attention of other teams in the paddock due to their impressive performances in Monaco. Williams have made technical upgrades to their car, focusing on enhancements to the rear wing and reduction in overall car weight. McLaren have introduced important upgrades to their car's body, aiming to enhance its aerodynamic efficiency. AGS have introduced a new diffuser to their car, a crucial component for improving downforce and stability at the rear. March have unveiled a new rear wing design. Benetton have rolled out a new diffuser and a minor engine performance boost. Finally, LaRousse have taken significant steps in upgrading their car's body, a move that could substantially enhance their chances at climbing up the midfield. Once again, lots of upgrades coming. Let's have a look at the mail that we have received between the last race and this race. Barry Goodman talking about qualifying, saying that if we manage to continue to qualify for all the races up until round 8, the governing body of the sport will look into changing the pre-qualifying list. And that would hopefully mean that Streamline doesn't have to pre-qualify. We'll be straight into the main qualifying draw from the offset. Johnny Herbert has sent us a mail. He's of course filling in for Satoru Nakajima down at Lotus. He says, "I would like to formally introduce myself. I am Johnny." We already know that anyway, Johnny. "As I'm sure you have seen me in the paddock before, I am fascinated by the project you are running at Streamline, and I have heard you are considering expanding to a 2-car team for next season. I would love to be considered for that position. I may only have a handful of races to prove myself on circuit this season, but please pay close attention to my performances. I look forward to hearing from you soon." Well, what do you guys think? Johnny Herbert, potential candidate for the second driver seat next year? Martin Brundle sends us a mail titled, "We need to do better. Hi boss, I would just like to say that I am disappointed with the fact we have failed to reach half race distance in the past 2 events. I believe that if we were to recruit a reserve or test driver, then we could be in a better position. I know you have a large team helping you make big decisions, so maybe members of this team can help by suggesting suitable candidates for the role. I hope my demands aren't too large." The big team he's talking about is, of course, you guys in the comment section down below. If you can give me a list of a few potential reserve drivers, realistic reserve drivers or test drivers, let me know down in the comments so we can make a decision very soon. Our technical director, Matt Hughes, is telling us about the upgrades coming soon. Great news, our long-awaited body upgrade is almost ready to go. The team thinks we can bring the upgrade for round 5 instead of round 6. I assume that is acceptable. On another good note, Ford are bringing a small upgrade to the engine for round 5 as well. Things are really starting to take shape. Let the team know what other areas we should focus on for future upgrades as well. So that's excellent news. We get our upgrade 1 race early, which will hopefully make a big difference. As we tick on over into the second half of the season, we will recruit a few more sponsors. I'm hoping to keep Rexona and Toshiba for the whole season, so we can renegotiate the half-season point as well on that one. And Lint is here for the whole season, as we already know. Let's have a look at what the journalists have been saying this week. Bailey McIntosh from What F1 summarising the Monaco Grand Prix. The F1 circus turned up at Monaco over the previous race weekend and spectators were treated to an incredible fight for the victory. Berger claimed an unlikely pole for Ferrari and possibly had a good chance of winning. Ayrton Senna was ever present in the lead battle, but it was once again Nelson Piquet who came through to claim victory after a great strategy call from his team. Rob Barton from The Visor saying there's a real test for the engines at the Mexican Grand Prix, mainly due to the long straights and the high altitude of the circuit. He also says he hopes that nobody will end up getting hurt, and I second that thought from him there. Lauren Hook from Inside F1 saying Berger furious. This is sort of like an inside scoop. Nelson Piquet and Gerhard Berger came to blows during the Monaco Grand Prix, which led to Piquet claiming victory whilst Berger fell to third by the flag. Gerhard Berger was reportedly furious with the incident and exclaimed that it's what he expects from a driver such as Nelson Piquet. It will be fascinating to see just how this plays out over the next few races. I agree about that. It's going to be very interesting to see how these rivalries develop between drivers over the seasons. I think it's time we get into the race weekend. Pre-qualifying coming right up. The pre-qualifying session was underway and Stefano Modena was the first driver to take to the track and go fastest.
Okay, this might be a tough session, mate, but try your best.
Obviously, the Streamline car not really suited to this circuit with the long straights, but Brundle completing his first lap there.
Okay, just go again.
And his engineer telling him to go again, as Alex Caffey and the Dallara behind him actually goes fastest in the session, even when being held up, as Brundle completes yet another lap.
Okay, that might be good enough, but it will change some of the setup.
So, the race engineer changing the gearing to see if that makes much of a difference, and increasing the downforce as Brundle rounds the final corner to complete his final lap in the session.
Okay, that was slower than the lap before, but it should just about be enough.
And that brings us to the end of the pre-qualifying session. The Dallara of Alex Caffey looks really good, ahead of Stefano Modena. Gabriele Tarquini once again makes it through, and Martin Brundle, by the skin of his teeth, just qualifies. That was almost a failure to pre-qualify there. Oscar Larori, for the third time in 4 races, fails to pre-qualify. And now it's time to go on to the main qualifying session. Well, that was really close. Too close to call, really. And we'll be struggling to just make the main grid here. But let's take a look at what happened in qualifying for the Mexican Grand Prix. The qualifying session gets underway, and René Arnoux in the Ligier is the first driver to get a lap on the board. But that doesn't last long. Ivan Capelli then jumps him up to provisional pole position for the March. That will surely be beaten soon. And a couple of minutes later it is Alessandro Nannini in the Benetton. That's a more representative time for the top of the table.
Okay, mate, first lap, just take it easy.
Thanks, race engineer, for cutting in front of me, but Brundle's first lap is on the board.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, keep going.
He might need to improve on that. Alan Prost, though, out on the circuit. He's the first McLaren to appear, and he goes to the top of the table with their new upgraded car. They're looking very, very quick. As Martin Brundle to complete his second lap in this session. Across the line he goes.
Okay, we're into the 124s that will make the job.
Into the 124s for Brundle. As there's Nigel Mansell slotting into second in the Williams. We've not seen Ayrton Senna yet. As Brundle completing yet another lap. Another personal best. It's a 24.5.
Okay, box, bring it in.
He's been told to box. Bring it into the pits there. As Prost actually improves yet again, goes even quicker, and then his teammate Ayrton Senna blitzes that time, and Senna goes to provisional pole position.
Okay, we'll have one final attempt here, mate.
So one final attempt for Brundle to make an impact. He's currently 23rd. It might be touch and go to even qualify for this race, but we do ride on board with Brundle for his fastest lap in the session, heading down this very, very long straight and trying to spot the braking zone. Quite difficult. Turn in, third gear down to second. We can even throw it down to first for these next 2 corners, but Brundle opting to keep it in second to make sure he doesn't get too much wheel spin on the exit. And down towards, I believe this will be turn 4 or turn 5, the end of the first sector. Senna, of course, a 19.9, the only driver into the 119s, as Brundle is up on his previous best lap by 3/100ths as it stands. Into the middle sector we go, then the crowd cheering Brundle on. Although, do they really care about Streamline? I'm not too sure. Streamline, still a new team. They probably don't have much of a fan base. But maybe they do like Martin Brundle. He's been there or thereabouts in the past few years in this sport, as there is apparently a spin in Sector 3. I think that's just somebody going into the pits. As through the winding, twisting second sector, very difficult. And we are up by 1/4 of a second through the first 2 sectors. And now it's just the final corner to go. This very long right-hander, which you don't even need to brake for. It's more just lift off, take as much speed through the apex as you can. And then it will be onto the main straight and the run down towards the line. Brundle wide at the final corner, but down towards the line. It's a 1:24.4.
Hopefully that's good enough. Good job, mate. Bring it in.
So we did, in fact, just about qualify for the main race, and that'll be coming right up. Make sure to give this video a like. We've been smashing 100 likes on every single video in this series so far. Let's see if we can aim for that yet again. The time has come, guys. The Mexican Grand Prix. Enjoy. Here is the starting grid for today's race, with Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, the 2 McLarens, locking out the front row of the grid. Gerhard Berger, who claimed pole position last time out in Monaco, starts from 3rd. Nigel Mansell 4th, and championship leader and reigning world champion Nelson Piquet slots in 5th place. The second Ferrari of Roberto Moreno starts from 6th. Then we have Boutsen and Herbert on the following row. Nannini and Patrese in the Williams rounding out the top 10. Eddie Cheever sets off from 11th ahead of Capelli. The 2 LaRouche drivers 13th and 14th, with Daumas ahead of Alliot, and René Arnoux in the lead. Ligier starts in 15th place. Onto the second half of the grid, and it's the second Ligier of Johansson. Then the Minardi of Perez, Sala, Larini once again qualifying in the Ocella in 18th. Jonathan Palmer and Philip Strife rounding out the top 20. Alex Caffey in a Dallara that keeps getting upgraded, at least that's what they're claiming in the media. He starts from 21st, Martini in 22nd. Tarquini once again makes the grid in Coloni colours in 23rd place. Warwick, Maurizio Gugelmin in 24th and 25th. And the final driver to make it onto the grid, just Martin Brundle in the Streamline. That means the 2 Zakspeeds of Schneider and Genzani miss out. The Tyrrell of Rothengatter and Stefano Modena in the Euro Brun, alongside his teammate Larori, do not make the grid. Martin Brundle and his team opting for a 3-stop strategy today, pitting lap 16, lap 34 and lap 48. A very interesting strategy considering the circuit. And the circuit length is 4.4 kilometers, 2.7 miles, 67 laps ahead of us today. The objective, as it has been for the past 2 races, is to finish the race. The race will start with cloudy, sunny conditions, and eventually the clouds will disappear and we will end the race under nice, sunny weather. There's only one more thing to do, and that's go racing. The 1988 Mexican Grand Prix is next. And here we are on the grid, and those are the lights, and we are away, and we've got a few stallers. That's Philip Strife in the AGS, and who's that? That's Nelson Piquet. Nelson Piquet stalled on the grid, and we've got away. We've already gained 5 positions. We're up to 21st place from 26 on the grid, and Martin Brundle hurtling down towards turn 1. It's such a long straight down towards this turn 1 braking zone, and we've moved past Martini. Martini then tries and retakes the positions on the inside. We're side by side. This is for a top 20th position, and almost side by side through turn 2 and through turn 3. Martini all over the curb in effort to defend from Martin Brundle. It's Minardi versus Streamline, battle of the back markers, and it rages on down towards the left-hander of turn 4, which is into a very heavy braking zone, I'd say, and a very tight turn 5. Martini still holding on to the position, but for how much longer? Brundle goes to the inside for the hairpin, and up the inside he goes. That's 20th place now.
Fantastic start.
It was a great start for Martin Brundle, but not so much for Nelson Piquet. The championship leader retires for the first time this season, stalling on the grid. As the start of lap 2, we see two drivers side by side. Is that Berger and Mansell? I believe it is. Ayrton Senna leads the way though. Alan Prost in second. Berger third. Oh, it's Mansell and Moreno actually. So Moreno trying to get past Mansell. He does so successfully. And in the background we can see Herbert getting past Boutsen for 6th place. And Martin Brundle, like I said, into the top 20 now. It's a 67 lap race. And I'm not sure that 3-stop will actually work out for Martin Brundle. We'll have to wait and see. Many other drivers opting for a 2-stop, which is the standard. And some on a 1-stop. As we can see there, Johnny Herbert moving up into 6th place. As the start of lap 2 for Martin Brundle, he has a run on Jonathan Palmer, who in turn is trying to get past Alex Caffey's Dallara. And they're side by side here, the two British drivers. Palmer on the inside, Brundle on the outside. And around the outside Brundle goes. Can he pull this move off? It'll be a good move if he manages to pull it off. But the Tyrrell of Palmer fighting back. And once again, just like Martini did the previous lap, running across the curb of turn 3 and turn 4. And on the run down to the following left-hander, is this Brundle's opportunity to move up yet another position. He's had such a stunning start to this race so far. And if he can make another position up, things look good for a really good result here today.
Good move, focus, head down.
Head down, says the race engineer. 19th place for Martin Brundle. What a start, gained 7 places.
And surely cut the track there, that's not fair.
Never mind, Palmer's retaken the position, but the battle rages on later on in the same lap. Into the Peraltada, which is the final corner. Brundle up the inside, Palmer on the outside, and Palmer holds on to the position for now. But I have a feeling this is going to be another long drag race down towards the first corner. It seems in the slipstream, Brundle reaching about 259, 260 kilometers an hour, but it's still not quite enough to pull side by side with Palmer down this very long straight. But under braking, that could be the opportunity that Brundle's looking for. Side by side as we head into turn number 2 and through turn number 3. Brundle is just trying to set this move up, but Palmer is defending valiantly. It's a great battle between these two. Really no love lost and no space between the cars as Brundle round the outside. That's not going to work, surely. Palmer.
Come on, he didn't leave me any space.
Palmer cutting him off there. That was kind of naughty by Jonathan Palmer. And who's that? That's Derek Warwick. Where's Derek Warwick come from? The arrows of Warwick moving up another position. So Brundle, for the meantime at least, down to 21st. Alex Caffey seems to be struggling too. So we could once again move up into the top 20 with this move down the inside into the first braking zone. Who brakes latest?
Good move. We're back into the top 20.
There we go, back into the top 20. And as on lap 4, there's Maurizio Gugelmin. And he's pulling off to retire. Is that a brake failure? That's very strange. Maurizio Gugelmin is out of this race. The second retirement of this race. As once again, Brundle looking for the move on Jonathan Palmer. It's been an excellent battle. And lap 6 now. And it's once again a run down towards that first corner. This time, can Brundle move himself up permanently ahead of Jonathan Palmer? He sends it up the inside.
Finally, who's next up? Next up is Warwick, directly in front of you.
Wow, so Brundle thinks he can get more out of this. As on lap 7, Ayrton Senna leading the race comfortably. He's slowing down. So he's out of the race. Senna's out of the race. We've had 2 Brazilian retirements. The top 2 in the championship out of this Grand Prix. It's drama every which way you look. And on the run down to turn 4, Brundle making a move on Perez Salas Minardi.
Great stuff. That's 18th place.
The dizzy heights of 18th could soon become 17th if Brundle can put a move on the Acela of Lorini, who's gone straight off the circuit.
That's also up to 16th place now.
Wow, 16th. Somebody was in the pits, I believe. Or maybe that was Senna's retirement moving them up another position as Chiva and Capelli battling for what is 8th place. Chiva just managing to get ahead in that one. As lap number 9 now, and Warwick under pressure from Martin Brundle. That's a regained position.
This is really good work, Martin.
We had no pace in qualifying or pre-qualifying, but the race has arrived and we are setting the times alive as what? That's very strange from Warwick.
That's what he deserves for a silly move.
Brundle telling it how it is. Derek Warwick going for a very silly move. And his teammate Eddie Cheever doing a similar thing, clattering the wall on the exit of the final corner and losing a few positions. Down to 12th place now is Eddie Cheever. As lap 10 has arrived, Alain Prost leads Gerhard Berger. Roberto Moreno in the race as well. As who's that? That's Larini spinning off. So Larini out of the race. He's spinning off there in the background. So we've had another retirement in this one. But Herbert up to 4th now, ahead of the two Williams of Mansell and Patrese. Patrese started down in 10th. He's already up to 6th place. So that Williams making good progress. And Martin Brundle, I've got to say it, Martin Brundle is driving the race of his very short Streamline career so far. If we can at least reach half race distance, it'll be better than the previous 2 races. And of course we finished last on the road in Brazil, the opening race, which was 13th place. So based on what we're seeing so far, with more retirements, we could be on for a personal best result of the season so far. Lap 11 and Derek Warwick with the extra top speed goes straight through. But Brundle fights back. What a move that is. He can't make it stick.
Our straight line speed is so bad.
And that's the first response we've had from Brundle today, complaining. It only took 11 laps, as that's a replay of what happened to the Osella of Larini there. We saw it in the background of, it was lap 10, but that was the replay on lap 12, shown on lap 12. As Derek Warwick up the inside, goes Martin Brundle of Derek Warwick on lap 12. Ooh, that's naughty.
Oh, come on, what's he doing?
Brundle really not happy here with Derek Warwick. I'm sure we've seen this so far this season before, didn't we? I think back in the first race of the season.
Nice. Okay, 15th place.
But he does eventually make the position up as all people in the pits.
Our new in, so we're 14th now.
Up to 14th, looking good.
Boxing this lap, Martin.
So lap 16 and Martin Brundle pitting. But the two Benettons making contact on the exit of the pit lane. I think that was Alessandro Nannini hitting the back of his teammate Thierry Boutsen. And now Nannini has a run on Boutsen. Towards turn 1 we go. He can't quite make that move stick. But Martin Brundle will bring his Streamline car into the pits for his first of 3 scheduled stops in this one. A standard chicane on the entrance of the pit lane, as we see there's so many times up and down the calendar. I think it's just to slow the cars down before they then reach 200 kilometers an hour down the pit lane anyway. But Martin Brundle being serviced, he's going to rejoin down towards the bottom end of the top 20.
Racing on the exit, so watch out, watch out.
And there's Alex Caffey on the outside, the Dallara or Scuderia Italia moving past. So Martin Brundle down to 19th for now. And some of these drivers he's battling, like Alex Caffey, might be on a 1-stop, might be on a 2-stop. So Brundle does need to make these positions back up. And that's the first of hopefully many. He's back up to 18th place with that move.
Is that Palmer again?
It is Palmer again. But that was much easier than the battle that lasted about 8 laps earlier on in the race. And Brundle up to 16th now. Next up, Perez Sala. He's already overtaken Perez Sala once this race. This will be for the 2nd time. And it would be for a 15th place position in this one. But once again, no straight line speed from the Streamline.
Come on, even when the slipstream we're not catching.
I feel the pain of Martin Brundle. But he goes round the outside of turn 1. That's a brilliant move from Brundle.
Is this the position? No, it's a back marker.
So we thought Strife actually stalled on the grid. It turns out he didn't. He was just stuck there for about 45 seconds as there's Arnoux putting a move on Capelli for 12th place round the Peraltada. Brave move as the race leader Alain Prost has come into the pits and he's going to rejoin still in the lead. The upgraded McLaren so dominant today. Berger pitting from 2nd place on the same lap as his rival Prost, and Moreno stays out for another lap, moves up to 2nd place as there's Capelli going into the pits. Brundle for now is up to 13th place.
Okay, you'll be glad to know we are now running in the top 10. That's 10th position.
Even better, top 10 position for Martin Brundle right now. Surely he's not going to finish in a top 10 position, is he? As lap 27, this is a 3-way battle between Herbert, is that Mansell, and Berger in the background, and this is for 3rd place in the race. And Herbert's lost out there to Berger, and the Williams has also lost out to Berger. It's a double overtake for Gerhard Berger, the Austrian, up into 3rd place. As lap 28, there's a mistake from Brundle.
I've made a little mistake there, sorry.
He has made a little mistake there. I agree. He has made a little one. Lap 30, Alain Prost still leads. Roberto Moreno, who seems to be on a one stop, is in second. Berger third. Then it's Patrese, Boutsen and Herbert, the point scorers at the moment. We're currently looking at Boutsen, who's in 5th place. Benetton have a good package underneath them. 83 rated is their car. So I think that's a 3rd or 4th best car on the grid. But look at that. Martin Brundle up to 9th place. I don't think he's ran that high this season so far, so a top 10 position for Streamline as it stands as we're approaching half race distance. This is Derek Warwick under pressure from Yannick Dalmas around the Peraltada, and Warwick's going to lose out there, so Dalmas up into 10th place as they're about to start lap 31. But Brundle still on lap 32, another mistake, and that'll give Yannick Dalmas a chance. Yannick Dalmas has gone through.
The balance is gone.
Maybe a turning point in this race for Brundle as he's now struggling to set the pace that he was setting earlier on in the race as the blue skies are out now around the Mexican Grand Prix circuit. Eddie Cheever moving up a position as here's Herbert entering the pits. He's been hit there by Mansell. Mansell's run into the back of his compatriot Herbert, and Herbert will have to retire with that one. They can't replace the rear wing in the pits, and Herbert out of the race. It's a double Lotus retirement as Strife has made contact. Well, Martini's made contact with Strife there around the final corner. That is for position though.
Okay, and that's pit entrance coming into the pits.
So Brundle in for his 2nd out of 3 scheduled stops in this one. It's lap 34, so just about half race distance, and Brundle pits from a promising position up in 11th place by the time he pits. He will rejoin maybe 13th, 14th, maybe even 15th, who knows. Herbert out the race, so he will regain at least one of those positions that he loses during the pit stop phase, as there's Herbert on the right hand side. Disappointing for Lotus. It's 13th place.
Okay, 13th place. Blue flags.
Blue flags as Nigel Mansell trying to lap Martin Brundle in the background, as Nannini and Johansson have been going at it side by side there. Nannini forcing his way through as Tarquini in the Coloni. A lot of I's and E's in this. Gets in the way of Johansson. So that's Nannini up a position, Johansson down to 12th place. Lap 37 now, and here's Martin Brundle under pressure from, once again, Derek Warwick. Warwick goes through, but can Brundle fight back? Probably not with the straight line speed.
This is a joke. The car's so unbalanced now. Caution, the car ahead has an issue, so take caution.
Arnoux driving around without a front wing, so something must have happened there for the Ligier to sustain that amount of damage. As Yannick Dalmas really starting to struggle. That's very close between Dalmas and Brundle. The Larousse in front. This is for 10th place again. Martin Brundle goes up the inside and is back into the top 10 of this race. Brilliant stuff. Alain Prost in for his 2nd and final stop on lap 44. He rejoins. He's so far ahead of everybody else. He's comfortably in the lead of this one. And unless something happens to him, he should win. Boutsen lapping Martin Brundle. And Brundle's off the circuit.
Well, what's the Benetton doing there? Come on, man.
Sorry, Martin. I think you have to take the blame for that one. That was silly from Martin Brundle outbraking himself. And here's Boutsen and Patrese battling away for a points position. Tarquini, though, will not be going any further in this race. Engine failure on lap 48 for the Coloni. Brings an end to his Mexican Grand Prix.
Yellow. Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay, mate. Okay. Just focus. You told me that. I see you in front of me.
I think Brundle needs to calm down here. He's getting a bit hot under the collar. What happened there, though? Moreno, I think, had suspension failure, and then Nannini runs into the back of him, knocks his own front wing off. Luckily, Martin Brundle decides to evade that.
Okay, box.
But it is the lap. Martin Brundle comes in for his final scheduled stop in this one. Lap 48, just about finding where his pit crew is. There's quite a lot of action in the pit lane on this lap. I think it's due to Nannini needing replacement of his front wing. Moreno, of course, retiring from the race. And where will Martin Brundle rejoin on the circuit? That is going to be 12th place, just behind Yannick Dalmas, who's managed to perform the overcut on Martin Brundle. There's Brundle on lap 50. Alain Prost still leads the way. Patrese, who still needs to pit again, I believe, is in second. Moreno, we know, is out of the race, but as of lap 50 for the leader, he was still in third place. Berger fourth, Boutsen fifth, and Mansell sixth. That's the final point scorer. Derek Warwick, though, will move up into sixth once Moreno tumbles down the order. And we still have, I believe, 21 drivers in this Grand Prix, so it's looking good in terms of reliability. If the Streamline of Martin Brundle can somehow hold on to this top 10 position, that'll be enough to satisfy the sponsors for the whole season. As Yannick Dalmas really under pressure here from Brundle. Brundle trying his best to fight through.
I can't race these guys. It's impossible.
They raced me so hard, says Martin Brundle. Lap 54 though, he's got another chance on Dalmas. That's off the circuit, that's round for Martin Brundle.
I've had a spin. I'm sorry.
That's a big spin. Luckily, he's not going to lose too much.
Okay, Martin, how's the car? How's the car? Don't bloody talk to me when I'm not on the straight.
So the race engineer talking to Martin Brundle, distracting him, and Brundle loses the back end into the side of, I believe that's Alio.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate. Sorry.
Now with massive suspension damage and a new front wing on the car. Oh, that's such a disappointment for Martin Brundle and the team Streamline. He's rejoined down in 13th place. And he's now going to be under pressure from some, I think, Martini behind. Lap 55 though, Berger putting a move on Patrese. That's for second place. Patrese still not pit after his first stop. And still on lap 55, Patrese's going to... Oh, that's an engine failure. He's out the race. So Patrese was trying the one stop. It didn't work. The Williams reliability letting him down as Dalmas pulling in to retire his car from some sort of issue. I don't know. He's been quite slow for a while in this race. So he's been called into the pits by the LaRousse team to retire on lap 56. Brundle under pressure from Perez Sala in the Minardi. Brundle with the suspension damage, down about 15 kilometers an hour on the straight, so that's understandable that happened. Lap 64 though, just a couple from the end, and Alex Caffey, who was running in a good position just on the edges of the top 10, out of the race. Absolute disaster. Prost wins though, and Martin Brundle has to settle for once again a P13.
Okay, that's the checkered flag, 13th place. I know it wasn't the race we wanted. We've got lots to improve on. We'll see you in the debrief.
And here are the race results. Alain Prost wins by almost a whole lap ahead of Gerhard Berger. Thierry Boutsen makes it 3 different constructors inside the top 3. In fact, it's 5 different constructors inside the top 5, with both arrows of Chiva and Warwick scoring points here today. Nannini ran into some issues during that race, finishes down in 7th place. Martin Brundle, it could have been 8th place by the end of this race, honestly, but he slips down to 13th after that incident late on. Alex Caffey retired but was still classified in 15th. Strife and Martini finished the race. That means there was technically 17 classified but 16 finishers. Dalmas was a gearbox issue. Quite a few engine failures as we expected here today. Ayrton Senna though, that's the big one, out of this race. And not even the biggest one, Nelson Piquet, the championship leader, suffering electronics issue on the grid. It meant he didn't even start the race. Piquet holds on to the championship lead, 5 points ahead of Senna. Berger is now still in 3rd place but closing the gap, and Prost has jumped all the way up to 4th. Eddie Chiva very impressively up in 5th place for arrows there. And we've had 12 drivers now scoring points this season. Martin Brundle though, 2 13th place finishes is his best results this season. That means he languishes down in 24th place in the Drivers' Championship out of the 34 drivers that have actually taken part so far in the opening 4 rounds of the season. We have seen a change at the top of the Constructors' Championship with McLaren now taking the lead, Ferrari up to 2nd, and Lotus have slipped down to 3rd. I don't think we'll see Lotus at the top of the championship again this season based on what we've seen so far. There we have it then guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like. We're once again going to try and smash 100 likes, which you've done in the first 3 episodes. Let's see if we can do it here again today. I know it sadly wasn't the result we wanted for Martin Brundle with that mistake towards the end, but we still have 12 races left in this season to make a mark and hopefully score maybe 1 or 2 top 10 results. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe for future sim racing content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.